We're about to dive into a case study that's almost 3,000 years old. But this isn't some dusty history lesson. Nope. This is about decoding a pattern of success and failure that you can see happening in organizations right now. And it turns out, it all comes down to one single thing: a leader's integrity. It's a question that probably keeps a lot of leaders up at night. You see it all the time, right? A startup finally hits it big, and then it just loses its way. Or a team wins the championship and then completely implodes the very next season. It's almost like success is more dangerous than failure. So why does this keep happening? Well, believe it or not, an ancient text, Psalm 78, gives us a really timeless diagnosis. We're going to treat it like a multi-generational case study of an organization that had every single advantage, sought incredible success, and then just kept falling into this loop of self-destruction. And the whole thing kicks off with one simple problem. They started to forget. Okay, so to really get a handle on this pattern of failure, we have to start where the story starts, with the sheer, unbelievable scale of what these people forgot. The text argues their big problem wasn't a lack of resources or some missed opportunity. It was a total and complete failure of memory. The text basically calls it a kind of collective amnesia. They just forgot the story of how they got to where they were. It's kind of like a massive tech company forgetting the garage-era hustle that made them who they are in the first place. And that amnesia, that's always the first step toward becoming irrelevant. And listen, what they forgot, it wasn't some small thing. The text goes into this epic detail about the complete takedown of the world's superpower at the time, Egypt. This wasn't just a battle. It was a systematic dismantling of their society. Their water turned to blood, their food chain collapsed, their economy was wrecked. We're talking about a band of destroying angels. Forgetting that is like a dynasty team forgetting the legendary coach that built it all. It's just unthinkable. And here's the brilliant part. The story highlights this incredible contrast they forgot. Against their enemies, the power they witnessed was like a fierce warrior, unleashing wrath and hostility. But for them, that exact same power acted like a gentle shepherd, guiding them like a flock of sheep, making sure they were safe and unafraid. They forgot both the terrifying force that protected them and the tender care that guided them. So what happens next? Well, they make it. They get to the promised land, the fight seems to be over, and they settle in. But here's the irony. It's the success, the prosperity, this newfound comfort, not the hardship, that becomes the perfect breeding ground for their next, even bigger failure. And this quote just nails the tragedy of it all. The cycle repeated. The text says they became as unreliable as a faulty bow. Think about that image for a second. A bow that looks perfectly fine, but the moment you actually need it, the moment you put it under pressure, it twists, it fails. They learned absolutely nothing. The text basically gives us a 4-step playbook for how it all fell apart. Step 1, prosperity. Everybody's comfortable. Step 2, amnesia. They forget how they got there. Step 3, betrayal. They start chasing new idols, abandoning their core values for whatever was shiny and new. And step 4, well, that was inevitable. Total systemic collapse. And that collapse had a specific name: Shiloh. This place wasn't just some random town. It was their headquarters, the very center of their identity and government for generations. So when the text says Shiloh was abandoned, it's describing a catastrophic failure. The organization's reputation, its glory, was captured by the enemy, and its heartland was left empty. So this ancient story gives us this incredibly modern concept, the success trap. And it's a huge warning for all of us. The moment an organization gets comfortable, that's the exact moment it's at its most vulnerable. Because when you forget why you started, you lose the one thing that made you great to begin with. So the story hits a rock bottom. The leadership has failed, the headquarters is gone, the mission is completely lost. The whole system looks like it's broken beyond repair. But then the narrative takes this huge dramatic turn. And the solution isn't to try and patch things up. It's something way more radical. The text uses this wild, vivid, almost human-like metaphor. It's this image of explosive, decisive action after just watching things fall apart for a while. It's basically saying, okay, playtime's over. A major intervention is about to happen. And here's the most crucial part of this whole reset. The solution isn't a small course correction. It's a complete teardown and rebuild. The old power structure, Ephraim, rejected. The old headquarters at Shiloh, abandoned for a brand new one. The message from the text is crystal clear. Sometimes a system is just too broken to fix. The only real answer is to throw it out and start fresh. So, where does the new leader come from? Not from the established inner circle, not from the elites of the failing system. The text tells us the new leader, David, was chosen from the sheep pens. They went to the margins to find someone who had already proven their character when nobody was even watching. And this, right here, brings us to the final and honestly, the most important takeaway from this whole case study. After showing us the problem of amnesia and the trap of success, the story doesn't just give us a new leader. It gives us the ultimate solution, a blueprint for the kind of leadership that can finally break that cycle of failure for good. And the blueprint is actually pretty simple. It has two parts. The first, and most important, is integrity of heart. This is all about character, having pure motives, being honest. It's the why behind what a leader does. The second part is skillful hands. This is your competence, your ability, the how. But the order here is everything. It's not a suggestion, it's the whole point. What the text concludes is that the ultimate antidote to systemic failure is leadership that is built, first and foremost, on a foundation of integrity. Yeah, competence matters. Of course it does. But it comes second. The entire historical collapse we just walked through was caused by a lack of integrity, that faulty bow, a heart that just wasn't true. So the solution had to be a leader whose character was rock solid. And that leaves us with a really tough question for you to think about. In our own world, in our companies, our teams, even our governments, when we pick our leaders, what do we really reward? Do we go for the brilliant but maybe difficult person with skillful hands? Or do we choose the steady leader with an honest heart? This ancient text suggests that the long-term survival of everything we build depends entirely on how we answer that question.